The world keeps pulling at you. Everything demands your attention. Everyone seems to need something from you. Every expectation pulls you further away from yourself. You try to keep up, to respond, to explain, to hold everything together, and slowly you feel yourself getting tired in a way rest does not fix. This is not a weakness. It is the cost of carrying what was never meant to be carried. Stoic philosophy has long believed that peace begins the moment you separate what belongs to you from what never did. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not every expectation deserves your obedience. When you learn to detach with clarity instead of bitterness, something changes. You stop leaking strength. You stop living on edge. You start standing still while the world keeps moving. If you feel overwhelmed, drained, or quietly exhausted, you're not alone, and you are not broken. What follows is a practical path to release without escaping, to step back without shutting down, and to reclaim calm without fighting life. Stay with this until the end. Like the video, subscribe for more grounded wisdom, and comment one simple affirmation below. I choose calm. 1. Everything feels lighter when you control your response. There are days when you do nothing extreme, nothing dramatic, and yet you still feel tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that settles quietly in your chest. You answered messages, you showed up, you stayed polite, you did what was expected, and somehow everything feels heavy anyway. This weight does not come from what happened. It comes from how much of yourself you gave away in reaction to it. When everything pulls at you at once, detachment does not mean turning away from life. It means choosing where your response belongs. Detaching from everything begins with understanding a simple truth. You cannot control what arrives. You can control how you meet it. Many people believe detachment means becoming cold or distant, but that belief creates more tension, not less. Real detachment is quiet. It is internal. It is the decision to stop reacting to every sound, every request, every shift in mood around you. Everything feels lighter when you no longer answer every knock as if it were an emergency. The most common mistake is confusing responsibility with reaction. People assume that caring means responding immediately and fully to everything that appears. Emails, messages, news, moods, expectations. None of these is neutral anymore. Each one triggers a response, a tightening, a silent rush of energy outward. By the end of the day, the body is still and the mind is empty. Not because too much happened, but because too much was reacted to. The exhaustion does not come from work. It comes from constant emotional availability. Stoic thinkers understood this long before modern life accelerated the problem. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events, and that realization brings strength. This was not written as advice for comfort. It was written as a survival principle. The world will keep moving. Events will keep arriving. If every external thing is allowed to enter your inner space without permission, there is no rest. Detachment is the gate. Response is the key. Imagine an ordinary office worker. Nothing about their job is dangerous or dramatic. Emails arrive throughout the day. Most are neutral. Some are mildly urgent. None are catastrophic. Yet each notification tightens their chest. Each message feels like a test. They respond quickly, carefully, and emotionally. They reread sentences. They anticipate reactions. By evening, they feel drained, even though nothing truly difficult occurred. The exhaustion came from responding to everything as if it mattered equally. It did not. Control of response does not mean ignoring life. It means sorting it. Some things deserve action. Some deserve patience. Some deserve no response at all. When you detach from everything, you are not refusing responsibility. You are refusing unnecessary emotional labor. You stop letting small things consume large amounts of attention. You stop treating every moment as if it were decisive. This shift does not make you careless. It makes you steady. There is quiet power in choosing not to react. Not because you are numb, but because you are clear. When you respond less, your responses carry more weight. When you stop reacting automatically, your nervous system begins to slow. The body learns that not everything is a threat. The mind learns that not every signal requires movement. Everything feels lighter because you are no longer lifting what was never yours to hold. The invitation here is not a dramatic change. It is a subtle practice. When something arrives today, pause, just long enough to notice your first impulse. Do not fight it. Do not judge it. Simply notice it. Then ask yourself if a response is required right now, or if it can wait, or if it is needed at all. This small pause is detachment in action. It creates space without withdrawal. It gives relief without escape. Over time, this practice reshapes your days. You begin to move through the world with less friction. Things still happen, people still ask, expectations still appear, but they no longer own your energy by default. You choose. And in that choice, everything becomes lighter. Not because life changed, but because your response did. 2. Everyone loses power when you stop reacting. A person in the family always has a comment. Every time you meet, they criticize something small. Your work, your tone, your choices. The words are not sharp enough to cause real damage, yet each time you leave, you feel drained and irritated. Not because the comment was severe, but because you reacted again, even though you already knew it would happen. This is how many people quietly lose energy, not through conflict, but through repetition. When detachment turns toward everyone, it does not mean cutting people off. It means taking back the power you unknowingly hand over each time you react. Detaching from everyone begins with a subtle shift. You stop confusing other people's behavior with your responsibility. Many believe that silence means weakness, that not responding means agreeing, or that calm means losing ground. So they engage. They explain, they defend, they justify. Each reaction feeds the same dynamic and keeps it alive. The power does not sit in the words being spoken. It sits in the response that follows them. When you react, the pattern continues. When you stop, something changes. The common mistake is thinking that people have power because of who they are. A parent, a partner, a colleague, a superior. In truth, their power often comes from how predictable your response is. They say the same thing because it produces the same result. Tension, explanation, emotional movement. This is not always intentional. Often, it is unconscious, but the effect is real. You leave the interaction feeling smaller, tighter, and tired. Detachment does not require confrontation. It requires awareness. Stoic thinkers observed this long ago. Epictetus wrote that people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. The comment itself is only sound. The disturbance comes from the meaning you assign to it and the reaction that follows. When you remove the reaction, you remove the fuel. The comment may still exist, but its power fades. You are no longer participating in the exchange that drains you. Imagine the next encounter with that family member. The same tone appears. The same familiar line is spoken. This time, nothing rises inside you. Not because you suppress it, but because you recognize it. You do not argue. You do not explain. You do not withdraw dramatically. You simply respond less, perhaps with a neutral acknowledgement, perhaps with silence, perhaps with a brief change of subject. The moment passes. The tension does not build. You leave with your energy intact. This is not avoidance. This is detachment. When you stop reacting, people often change without being asked to. Some soften, some grow quieter, some continue, but their words no longer land the same way. You're not trying to control them, you're controlling your involvement. This is where the title becomes real. Detaching from everyone does not mean distancing yourself from relationships. It means removing emotional hooks that no longer serve you. There is relief in realizing that you do not have to meet every person at the level they offer. You can stay grounded even when others are restless. You can remain calm even when others provoke. This does not make you passive. It makes you unavailable for unnecessary conflict. Everyone loses power the moment their inner state is no longer shaped by their behavior. The action here is gentle. Notice the people who leave you feeling tense after brief interactions. Pay attention to how often you rehearse conversations with them in your mind. That rehearsal is a form of reaction. When you catch it, let it end. Not by forcing it away, but by refusing to continue the exchange internally. The next time you meet them, allow yourself to respond less than usual. Shorter, quieter, slower. Observe how little is actually required. Over time, this practice restores balance. You begin to feel steadier around others. You stop carrying their moods home with you. You stop measuring yourself against their words. Detachment does not harden you. It frees you. When your reactions no longer feed old patterns, everyone loses the power they once had over your peace, and what remains is a calmer space where you can simply be yourself. 3. Every expectation hurts less when you let go. Something already happened, yet you are still resisting it. The moment has passed, the words were said, the outcome settled, but inside you keep replaying a different version. It should have gone another way. They should have acted differently. You should have known more, done more, been more. This quiet resistance is where much of our pain lives. Not in reality itself, but in the expectation that reality failed to meet. Detaching from every expectation is often the hardest part, because expectations feel reasonable. They feel earned. You show up, you try, you care. And in return, you expect understanding, fairness, recognition, or at least a predictable outcome. When that expectation breaks, the pain does not come from what happened. It comes from the gap between what is and what you believe should be. That gap can stay open for years if you keep leaning into it. Many people think letting go of expectations means lowering standards or giving up on hope. That belief keeps them trapped. They hold on tighter, hoping that replaying the past or worrying about the future will somehow fix what already exists. Instead, the mind stays tense, the body stays alert, the heart keeps waiting for a correction that never arrives. Expectation turns into a quiet form of suffering. Stoic thinkers described this without using emotional language. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Expectation lives in imagination. It creates an image of how things should unfold and then asks the world to obey it. When the world does not comply, we argue with it internally. We resist what cannot be changed. Letting go does not erase disappointment, but it shortens its life. Think of someone who waits for a message that never comes. Not a dramatic loss, just silence. Each day they check their phone with a quiet hope. Each day the expectation resets. The pain is not the silence itself. It is the belief that the silence means something about their worth, their effort, their value. When they finally stop expecting the message, nothing external changes. The phone stays silent, but the inner tension releases. The day feels lighter. Attention returns to the present moment instead of hovering in anticipation. This is where detachment from expectation connects directly to the title. Detaching from everything and everyone prepares you to detach from what you hoped they would be. Expectations often form without being noticed. You expect people to understand you without explanation. You expect effort to be rewarded. You expect life to follow a certain order. When it does not, you feel wronged. Letting go does not mean approving what happened. It means ending the internal argument with reality. There is a quiet strength in accepting that some things will never match the picture you carried. The moment you release the expectation, you reclaim energy that was tied up in waiting, wishing, and resisting. You stop asking the past to change. You stop asking the future to reassure you. You stand where you are. The action here is small and personal. Notice where you feel most disappointed. Look closely, and you will find an expectation underneath it. Not a fact, but a hope disguised as a requirement. When you see it, allow it to loosen. You do not need to force it away. You do not need to replace it with optimism. Simply acknowledge that this expectation is no longer serving you. Let it rest. Over time, this practice changes how pain moves through you. Hurt still appears, but it does not linger as long. You stop reopening the wound with imagined alternatives. Every expectation hurts less because it no longer carries the weight of who you think you should have been or what the world should have given you. Detachment does not make life smaller. It makes it more honest, and in that honesty, there is room to breathe again. 4. You stop suffering when you accept what happens. Detach here means stopping the struggle with what already is. Not because what happens is easy, comfortable, or fair, but because resisting it doubles the weight you carry. Life moves. Events unfold. Words are spoken. Plans shift. Trying to argue with what has occurred keeps the body tense and the mind restless. Acceptance is not agreement. It is the quiet choice to stop adding layers of suffering to what already exists. It is the moment you stop thrashing in the current and let it carry you forward. Most people resist. They replay the scene in their minds. They imagine what should have been different. They predict how others could have acted. This habit makes the past longer and the future heavier. Pain is not always in the event. Pain often grows in the insistence that things should have been other than they were. When expectations meet reality, resistance amplifies the sting. Acceptance is gentle. It does not condone. It simply ceases the internal fight. Stoic thought reminds us that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. Epictetus wrote that it is not things that disturb us, but the opinions about them. The misstep of fighting reality is common. We hold our hands over a wound, hoping it will heal faster. We replay arguments, mistakes, and disappointments in a loop. Each repetition deepens the ache. The moment you accept what happened, the loop begins to slow. The wound is no longer inflamed by constant attention. The mind finds space to breathe. Imagine a person who missed a promotion at work. Not because they failed to try, but because circumstances shifted beyond their influence. Each day, they revisit the loss. They feel overlooked, frustrated, and restless. Their attention, energy, and peace become hostage to the event. One day, they pause and notice this cycle. They remind themselves that the event is outside their control. They no longer argue with reality. They acknowledge the disappointment, feel it, and let it pass. Sleep becomes easier, appetite steadier, thoughts calmer, work feels less heavy. The event remains, but the suffering fades. Acceptance does not mean resignation or apathy. It is an active orientation toward what can be influenced. Your own response, your own choices, your own energy. Resistance wastes energy. Acceptance redirects it. Energy once spent arguing with what happened becomes available to decide what happens next. Detachment is practical. It is a tool to preserve the strength that would otherwise leak into endless internal struggle. The mind anchored in acceptance can consider solutions, plan the next step, or simply rest without guilt. Small actions reinforce this practice. When an event triggers a tightening in the chest or a spiral of should-have thoughts, pause. Name the event without embellishment. Notice your impulse to resist or replay. Choose to release that impulse, not through suppression, but through acknowledgement. Observe the sensation, allow it to exist, and redirect attention to what you can influence. Your body loosens, your mind finds clarity. The moment passes, you remain steady. Over time, accepting what happens reshapes experience. External events retain their presence, but their power to disturb diminishes. Life is no less unpredictable, and challenges still arrive, yet the internal turbulence softens. The energy that once amplified discomfort now nourishes calm, presence, and grounded choice. The act of detachment becomes a gentle daily rhythm, a subtle recognition that the only part of life truly under your influence is your own mind. In that space, suffering ceases to dominate, and quiet resilience emerges naturally. 5. You think clearly when you pause before reacting. Viktor Frankl once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. That space is where clarity lives. It is the quiet margin between what happens and how you allow yourself to respond. Most days, that margin feels invisible. A sudden email, a call from a coworker, a remark from someone close. The mind reacts before it registers. The body tenses. Breath shortens. Decisions are made in the echo of impulse, and often they carry weight that lingers far longer than necessary. We imagine that acting immediately is efficient. That reaction proves strength, competence, or care. Instead, this reflex creates strain. Energy is spent defending against a shadow. Words are said that might not match the intention. Emotions flare and leave traces on memory, on the body, and on relationships. The assumption is that you must respond to everything, as if silence or a pause is surrender. This is where clarity falters and confusion grows. Detachment from reaction is not indifference. It is the allowance to inhabit the space that exists naturally between stimulus and action. Stoic insight reminds us that the mind is not obliged to obey the first impulse. Epictetus observed that people are disturbed not by events themselves, but by judgments about them. Pause gives the mind a moment to examine those judgments. Is this thought true? Does it require action? Does it require energy I cannot reclaim once spent? In that moment, the difference between what belongs to you and what does not becomes visible. Imagine a nurse on a busy hospital floor. A family member criticizes her approach. The words sting. Usually the chest tightens and she would answer sharply, an emotional echo of the moment. Today, she notices the pause. She inhales, letting the criticism land without absorbing it. She observes the anxiety rising, recognizes it, and allows it to pass. Her response is measured, not defensive. Her energy is intact. She leaves the room with calm that would have been impossible in the heat of immediate reaction. The event remains, the words remain, but the internal storm does not. Many try to eliminate this space with constant action, distraction, or multitasking. They assume the world requires immediate engagement, that any delay is failure. That pressure clouds judgment. Detachment here is a conscious, small practice. Noticing the impulse to react, acknowledging it, and breathing before choosing the next step. It is subtle. It does not remove challenges, but it keeps energy from leaking unnecessarily into arguments, guilt, or regret. The pause is itself a form of protection. Practicing this begins with attention to sensation. The next time the body tightens at a comment, a sound, or a demand, allow a single breath before thought expands. Notice the sensation without judgment. Acknowledge the impulse, and then release it gently. The action taken after the pause carries clarity. Decisions arise from understanding rather than reaction. Repetition strengthens the ability to live within that space more naturally, turning moments of agitation into opportunities to preserve presence. Over time, the mind grows less tethered to others' impulses and more anchored in your own. Each pause softens the reflexive pressure to respond. Emotional energy remains available for what truly matters. You do not react to every ripple on the surface. You respond with intention. Life retains its unpredictability, and yet inside, the storm has room to move without tossing you. In that space, clarity is constant, and decisions are shaped by your own awareness rather than the weight of every immediate stimulus. The quiet pause becomes the foundation of calm, allowing thought to emerge fully, unhurried and deliberate, giving strength to stand without strain and act without depletion. 6. You stay steady even when life changes. Everything shifts and you don't need to panic. A person has faced one change after another over several years. Jobs ended, relationships shifted, plans fell apart. At first, every alteration pulled at their balance. They tried to hold things exactly as they had been, clinging to schedules, routines, expectations, and the faint hope that nothing would ever slip. Each shift left their chest tighter, their thoughts louder, their hands trembling with a quiet tension they barely noticed until evening fell and the day's weight remained. Then one day, slowly, they stopped trying to keep the world fixed. They stopped insisting on permanence. They let the current carry events instead of dragging themselves against it. And in that quiet surrender, the storm did not stop, but their chest unclenched. Their steps no longer faltered with every ripple of change. Life moved around them, and yet they stayed steady. We imagine stability comes from controlling every outcome, every interaction, every shift in circumstance. We think that if only we arrange things correctly, we can prevent discomfort or disappointment. Instead, this is where tension lives. Constantly resisting change fractures attention, exhausts energy, and feeds quiet anxiety. Detachment here is not absence of care, not passivity. It is noticing that the world changes, that people move, that plans fail, and choosing to inhabit your own mind instead of being tossed by the external tide. Stoic insight reminds us that the world is not ours to command, but the way we respond is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength is born not from fixing the outside, but from holding the center of yourself steady. Imagine a teacher in a small town. Their school closes unexpectedly. The lesson plans are gone, parents are frustrated, and colleagues scramble in panic. Normally, every sudden change would spark tension and anxiety that ripple through the day. But today, the teacher notices the shift, acknowledges it, and lets go of the insistence that things remain as expected. They breathe, adjust, and begin again. The classes may be different, the structure may be altered, but their own presence, calm and steady, becomes the anchor for the students and the staff. The day passes. Chaos remains, but their steadiness shapes the moment. Their energy is preserved. Change no longer dictates their inner state. Many believe that resilience is built by preventing change, by avoiding discomfort, or by holding tight to expectations. The common mistake is thinking that clinging will secure safety. Instead, it traps the mind in constant vigilance and fear, and every new event becomes a small personal crisis. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means differentiating between what is yours to influence and what is not. Observing this distinction, choosing how to navigate the world rather than trying to stop it, creates a rhythm of calm that persists even as life shifts. Practical steps begin with noticing each moment of resistance. When plans crumble or circumstances shift, pause. Name the change. Allow the initial tension to exist without reacting impulsively. Take a breath and act only on what is within your power, your words, your choices, your focus. Repetition strengthens this habit. Each time you notice the change, pause and respond rather than resist, your internal steadiness grows. small acts of allowance accumulate. Over weeks and months, the mind no longer overreacts to each fluctuation. You move through life with the same posture you might hold while standing in calm water, steady, upright, anchored. In this way, you preserve energy, protect clarity, and reclaim your own pace regardless of external turbulence. Life will continue to shift. Relationships, work, and expectations will evolve without warning, but the space within your mind can remain constant. You do not become unfeeling. You remain engaged. You care, but without losing yourself in every change. The world shifts around you and you are steady. In this steadiness lies freedom. In this steadiness, your mind remains your own, unshaken by whatever unfolds. Detachment is not escape, but a daily practice. When you release what you cannot control, pause before reacting, and accept change with clarity, inner peace becomes steady. Practice this each day, gently and consistently. Share your experience in the comments, and do not forget to like and subscribe for more grounded wisdom.